Hi everybody, welcome down to Lecala Golf Resort. I'm Matt Fryer, and in today's video we're going to find out whether you have picked the right wedges for your game. So I've teamed up with my friends at Mizuno and we're going to be talking about getting the right lofts in your wedges and also figuring out what bounce you need in your wedges. So let's get into that video now. Before we do though guys, if this is your first video on my channel, firstly welcome, and also do remember to hit that subscriber button down below and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss out any future videos to help you improve your game this year. Let's go and find out if you've got the right wedges. So one of the issues that we face now with manufacturers actually changing the lofts of clubs where they're getting stronger, there's no industry standard, it leaves a massive gap between the pitching wedge and what was a traditional sand wedge. When it used to be 47 as a pitching wedge and 56 as a sand wedge, there's a huge gap now because some pitching wedges are up to 43, 44. So you've got to fill that. And the problem is you end up filling it with too many wedges in my eyes. We see that you get like a 45, a 50, a 54, a 58, a 62. And part of the beauty of the short game is that we have to be creative in the shots that we're playing. We can learn to hit knockdowns, hit half shots, and I think everyone with all these wedges gets stuck just trying to make a full swing with each wedge. So what I'd suggest is don't go above 4 wedges and try maybe even just having pitching wedge and then 2 wedges. If you can start to learn to get another gap in between these, I go pitching wedge, 52 and a 58. I can learn now to hit half shots with these. I can hit 3/4 shots with them. So from 120 in, I can pretty much use any of these for that type of shot depending on how I want to play with it. And it's part of the fun, like I say, the beauty of the short game. So if we can get it now where we're only using loft gaps of about 6 degrees, 7 degrees in each, you should be covered from there. So I'm 70 yards out now and I'm gonna go 52 for myself because this would normally go about 120 full out, but what I can do is have a system to try and make them go a little bit shorter and hit those shots. Right on the money, perfect. So the other thing we've got to be aware of is the bounce of the wedge. And what I mean by that, that's the leading edge and the back of the club, the angle between those. We have high bounce, we have low bounce, and we have mid bounce. And one of the things that sometimes it seems a bit cool to do is get a really low bounce. But is that going to be suited to your golf swing? Because bounces are designed to actually aid you with your angle of attack. As the club's coming down into the ball, it's going to help you actually get a better strike on it. So if you're playing somewhere where the ground is really firm, i.e. a links course, you might need a little less bounce where the club can slide over. But that's only if you're actually delivering the club on quite a shallow angle of attack, so it's working quite low and neutral to the ground as it's coming in. Imagine like a digger pushing some sand along, it would just be gathering and gathering as it goes along. What we do have is more of a higher bounce, where if you've got a little bit of a steeper angle of attack, which, not to categorise, but generally most amateurs that I see, they will have a little bit of a steeper angle of attack. So something with a little bit higher bounce, especially on your lob wedge, is going to be okay. And even people will say, oh well, I see the leading edge pop up, but if you actually sit it in the right way and apply the right technique, you can still get the club to slide under the golf ball quite easily. So picking the bounce is a big one, because if I just demonstrate a shot here, I'll hit 2 shots. I've got 2 58s here. I've got one with 4 degrees of bounce, and then I've got one with 12 degrees of bounce. Now, if I use the 4 degree of bounce first, if I don't catch this perfect, I've got a tight shot up here, I'll get a little bit of a divot going on, and it wouldn't be as good as I like. It would probably fall short, and the margin for error is so much tighter when you've got low bounce. So here, really felt I had to go through that one and just about nipped it, but didn't have the most confidence with that as I hit it. As where now, if I go into my higher bounced wedge, so I've got 58 with 12 degrees on it, I should see that it's a bit easier. I can just, even if I get a tiny bit steep, I don't take any real divot, I can just brush it off the turf a bit easier. There, really nice. Spun a little bit more than the other one, and there's hardly any divot here. The other one, the ground was starting to get broke. I just got away with it, so it can be quite important. And the other aspect where it can be important is in the bunker. So let's go and take a look at some of those. Okay, so one of the other issues that you'll find is when you get into a bunker, and amateurs in general don't use the bounce enough in a bunker. Like I say, I've got this 4-degree bounce and I've got a 12-degree bounce here. I'm in a bunker that's got quite a bit of sand on it. So if I get this entering a little bit steep with my 4-degree one, it won't come out that easily out of the sand. I really will have to feel like I'm muscling it out there. So you've got to be spot on with it, and you know, like I say, not using enough bounce can cause you real issues. Obviously we don't want the shots where you're chunking it into the face. You take a good amount of sand, you feel like you've done well, but because it was like a spade almost, it just goes straight into the sand, takes too much, and all the force is taken out of the ball. So I'll give this one a go with the 4-degree. I'll open it out a little bit just to try and get a little bit more bounce on it, but see there, far too much sand. I just felt it cutting down and going straight through it as I was in there, and it, you know, it got out of the bunker, but it wasn't what I would be normally hoping for in a bunker shot for myself. So let's change over to the 12 and put it similar sort of lie there. Not the best lie in the world, kick a bit at it even just to add to a bit of value. And now it's the one where I've got more bounce. We should see that the club goes in and rides the sand a little bit easier. Let's have a go at this one. So there. And I felt that just cut straight through, and I didn't feel like there was any force taken out of the blade there. As it got into the sand, it almost felt it whipped straight under, and I thought it was going to go out, but because of the loft and the bounce, I was able to get a nice shot away there instead of this one with the low bounce. It felt like I was really digging down into the sand as if I was hitting into syrup or water or something. It really zapped the energy. So definitely when choosing your wedges, look at how much sand you've got in your bunkers at your course. If there was no sand, they were real hard pan, maybe a little less bounce would help. But in general, I think for a lob wedge, don't go too low. See that you get a little bit more. See that you're adding a bit more bounce into it to help you out to the maximum. Okay, so to wrap this video up guys, what we need to do when we are picking wedges, make sure number one, if you're an amateur, get something with a little bit more bounce. If you are one who takes big divots, that little bit of extra bounce is always going to help you out. It's going to be your friend. And when you get into the bunkers as well, you're going to see that the bunkers become a little bit more easier to play out. If you are playing off really hard pan links style turf and you graze the turf all the time, you hardly ever take a divot, then maybe a little less bounce could work for you. Also, don't get too many wedges in your bag. Leave some space up at the other end of your bag for a hybrid or an extra wood, the ones that are going to be a little bit harder to hit. Get maybe pitching wedge 52, 58 and enjoy being creative with these things. That's part of the beauty of the game, actually conjuring shots up, changing your swing a little bit, hitting half shots and making the wedges do the work for you. Don't just fall into the trap of having 5 wedges and full swing in every single one. Start to learn how to adapt your game around just a fewer amount of wedges in the bag. So all in all, I think, you know, picking the right wedge is really going to help your game out if you can do that, and you should see that your scores are starting to lower if you just start to get the gear that's going to be that appropriate for you. And also a great thing that you can do, the guys at Mizuno were talking to me about wedge fitting when we contacted them about the video. You can go and have your wedges actually gap tested for you, so you get the right gaps in between each loft. Even if you're stuck with the 3-1, 3-wedge system, you could find that you're getting the right gap in each one. So there's a link in the description below for Mizuno fitting days around the country. It's a really interesting thing to go and do as well, so maybe think about going having a wedge fitting and see that you've got the right clubs for your game. Guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this style of review video slash sort of instruction type thing, click that like button for me down below. Let me know that you want more of these videos on the channel as well. Also, like I said at the start, don't forget to subscribe, because there's plenty more content coming your way from this beautiful place of La Cala Golf Resort. It's the 30th anniversary and I've been out here filming loads of content and I can't wait to share it all with you. So a big thank you to them for letting me come down. Thank you to you for watching this video, and I'll see you soon in the next one. I'm going to go and finish that putt out now.